Welcome back, everybody. Derrick Soo, your East Oakland advocate. Well, if you're like me, you go to your doctor, and if you're in a certain age group, your doctor's going to ask you uh, and talk about vaccines. Well, one of the vaccines that my doctor's been talking to me about relates to shingles. If you don't know what shingles is, it's a virus that comes on and it lays dormant in your body for decades and can stay there for your entire life. And how it starts is by having a case of chickenpox when you were young. I didn't have a full-blown case of chickenpox. In fact, my mother told me it was a very mild case of chickenpox, and it only lasted like 5 days. So it was a modified version of chickenpox that I had gotten. But what I want to talk about is that uh, most people will go through life without having to encounter the virus shingles through their entire life, possibly. And then there are those like myself who experienced shingles at an extremely young age. I was 23 when I had an outbreak of shingles. And what shingles is, it's uh, it's a virus, like I said, and it's Varicella-Zoster virus. That's the actual name. Varicella, Varicella, Zoster, Zoster virus. And it's doctors don't really know what triggers this, but if this is similar, if you have herpes, the herpes virus, it acts very similar to varicella-zoster, and what it does, it goes dormant somewhere in your spine, just like herpes. It settles into your spine, and it'll remain in hibernation, essentially, for until something triggers it. And in my case, what triggered mine at such an early age, and it surprised doctors, because I was at my primary care doctor's office, um, and also I visited the emergency room at first, and it's a horrible virus, and it was probably one of the most memorable, and also a messy uh, virus to go through. Not only do you have the pain, I mean, it's a real deep burning sensation, and I got mine on my chest right here back in '83. I was going through a very stressful time in my life. I was in a relationship with my first wife at the time, and it was a disaster. And so life was a living hell for me on earth at the time. And to give you an idea how stressful things were, number one, I had just purchased a home that I didn't want because she wanted the home, and put me in uh, serious debt that ended up bankrupting me about 3 years later. I actually filed for bankruptcy to get out of that home, take my name off that title, and the home became her problem because she wanted to keep the stupid home. But it was all of the stress of work, life, and then also my miserable life at the time with my first wife. Because she literally made my life a living hell. And I was working two jobs at the time. I was young, and like I said, it was the most stressful time in my life. Even um, my 20-year career at with counter terrorism was nowhere near as stressful as that 2-year period with my first wife. But anyway, when I came down with the um, virus, it started as a rash. It just was red spots and it was kind of itchy. So you start scratching it, right? It's itchy, but also at the same time, it's a burning sensation. Um, it's hard to describe that burning sensation, but it is deep into your flesh. Not only do you have the rashes, but then those rashes develop into blisters, and those blisters pop at the slightest touch because when they're it's itching, and then also there's um, semi clear fluid, essentially the pus that is leaking out of those little bubbles of the former rashes. But now the blisters are popping and leaking. And one of the things that I can say is that at this time, while you're going through this, uh, you are not you are not contagious. Um, but it is a miserable time. I wore a t-shirt to absorb all of the liquids and fluids that were leaking from the blisters on my chest. And um, the bad thing is that the material you're on that t-shirt, um, all of that pus and those fluids dry up and absorb, and so your that t-shirt sticks to those um, blisters, those open blisters now, and you're still scratching them. You're trying everything to avoid scratching it, but there's just no relief there. You can't really put anything on it because you could get infected. But um, it's a painful rash. There's a lot of blistering that goes on. In fact, it was all of my chest in this area that was covered with shingles. And then the leakage, the fluid for the next 2 weeks was just miserable. And then when it dries on your shirt, and then you move, and the shirt rips all of those dried fluids uh, back into open position, and they start leaking again. And the bad thing is that there's so much leakage. I mean, there is so much leakage that it's not even worth trying to save those t-shirts. And I ended up just throwing them away because at first I tried washing them, but then the stain, there was a yellow stain from the fluids that I just couldn't get out. Even all the bleach that I used couldn't get those yellow stains out. So throw those clothes away, essentially. Herpes, the herpes virus, it is a herpes virus. Let's just call it that. And if you've had genital herpes, it's similar because if you know anything about genital herpes, it is stress that usually brings on um, that virus, and it can last anywhere from 3 days to a week typically, and then it goes back to dormancy in your spine after it's run its course. But typically, your doctors are going to, if you're 50 or over, your doctor's going to talk to you about the shingles vaccine because both of my doctors, my oncologist and also my primary care doctor, asked me if I wanted to get the vaccine Shingrix. Shingrix is currently the only vaccine that's on the market to hopefully lessen um, the effects of shingles if you have an outbreak of shingles, or to minimize the discomfort of shingles. And shingles typically last anywhere from 7 to 10 days. The actual leakage on your body, and it can be anywhere. It can be on your face, can attack around your eyes, neck, arms, it literally anywhere on your body. But in my case, I had it on my chest. And so anyway, uh, wrapping this up, I know what brings on um, shingles in me. And so I've declined the shingles vaccine because, number one, I've already had shingles, and the chances of a second outbreak or a third outbreak is dropped significantly. Uh, in Since I was 23, I have never had another outbreak of Varicella-Zoster, and I don't ever want to go through that hell on earth for that period again, because number one, you don't get any sleep either because of the constant itching, the burning, and then the pulling of the dried pus and fluids on your shirt. It's a miserable time. Um, the decision, I say, is up to you. Uh, for those of you that are anti-vaxxers, there's nothing wrong with this. It's an opportunity to lessen the severity of the virus, or even keep it in hibernation. So that's a personal choice. And for me, the personal choice, because I've already been through shingles, I know what triggers it in me, and that's why I declined getting the Shingrix vaccine. But I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I typically get the vaccines that my doctors recommend. Also, a lot of you know, my second wife, she was a specialist in the vaccine field. And she worked with many of the big tech, life science tech organizations. Her biggest one that she worked for a number of years was Chiron, before they reverted back to the name Novartis. And she was their intellectual properties attorney, one of them, and one of the most recognized in the world. So again, the shingles vaccine, Shingrix, it is a helpful vaccine, and um, I'm not going to give my recommendation because, number one, I don't have Shingrix in my body, so I cannot say that I can recommend it and it'll do these things. But for those of you that are immunocompromised like myself, who have been through cancer treatments, it makes you immuno compromise. And so for those of you that have that situation like myself, this may be an opportunity for you to research and see if it's something for you. Because let me tell you that the 2 weeks that I had with shingles was, like I said, it was memorable for me. To this day, I still cannot forget the miserable 2 weeks that I had with that. And on top of that, I had to go to work. So thanks for joining me today. Hopefully this helps you with the shingles Varicella-Zoster virus and Shingrix. Thanks for joining me today. We'll be right back.